two, one. Hello, everyone. Today is a very special day. First of all, happy holiday, New Year, Merry, Kwanzaa, whatever Festivus you celebrate. I'm so happy that is over and we can just get back to work. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, glad to see you all, and I hope that you had a lovely whatever you do. And today is a special day. I get to introduce you to somebody. Now, most of you know this somebody, and you know that she's really somebody. But this somebody is Coach Jennie. And yesterday, she posted in my group something that was spectacular in so many ways. And so I immediately asked her if she could be on the show today. And she's helping me out in that way and has joined us today to talk about it. Jennie, how are you?
I'm phenomenal. How are you, RJ?
I'm lovely now. I'm lovely now, darling.
It has been so long since you and I live streamed, but we're going to talk about work, not Game of Thrones today. So I can do this.
You can tell we're not talking about Game of Thrones because Shoshana's not in the screen with us.
Exactly. But
she would have to be.
I know we have to make that happen when Game of Thrones finally comes back. But back to business. I'm really excited that you invited me to be here and that you didn't mind that I posted that in your group.
Oh, I'm so happy that you posted that in my group. Now, before we get into all of that, could you tell the people who you are, what you do, where you are, and then we'll get into bots in a sec.
Sure. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Jennie Mustafa-Julock, which is ridiculous. So everybody calls me Coach Jennie. I'm here in sunny, gorgeous Los Angeles, California. It's gorgeous here. You should come visit. And I am a coach, author, speaker. I'm one of those who is the creator of Hilda, who is that naysaying bitch that lives in your brain and tells you you suck. And I am on a mission to make Hilda a household name. As I introduce Hilda to people, more and more people get out of their own way. And that's really what my work is all about. How'd I do?
That was fantastic. Like, you got that down to a science.
Try to be quick. Try to keep it quick.
It's good. It maintains the interest without getting, you know what I mean, getting lost in the weeds. That was well crafted.
Thank you. I feel good about it.
So, what? By the way, you were the person that was talking about bots and made me think, if she knows about them, I better know about them, right?
Thank you for giving me credit for that. I'm very proud to have addicted RJ to the bots. I knew that she was going to be the person that would take bots to the next level. There's all these other people that talk about bots that talk about it way over the heads of the rest of us who don't give a crap about the tech. And thank you for just making it, English for the rest of us so that we can actually turn it into something valuable. Yeah, that's what I love about you. Oh, and thank you for that, Erin. Hi.
Hello, Erin. Erin's got her new profile picture today.
That's fabulous.
So you were the one, because you had been talking about bots, and I had no idea what you were talking about. I saw that you were in a group one day, and I thought to myself, oh, okay, if she's getting into groups, she's going to try it. And if she's going to try it, I need to know how to fix it.
Jennie's about to break the internet, so RJ needs to be there with a life preserver. Yes, that's basically our relationship. Yep.
That's our relationship, yeah. So I popped in there, and everybody else knows the rest of the story. But how did you get into bots? What piqued your interest? Tell me the story.
Sure. So I am one of these people that likes to be on not just the cutting edge, but the bleeding edge of technology when it comes to ways to connect with my audience. That is who I am. I'm not actually a geek. I don't care how it works. I can't even spell WebRTC. I don't care at all. But what I do know is that anytime there's a technology, especially connected to Facebook, that allows me to connect with people who haven't met me yet or haven't met Hilda yet and start a really good conversation, I want to be on board. And so I heard people talking about bots, and the word bots turned me off, I won't lie, because it felt like a robot, it had nothing to do with a human interaction. But as I went to one quick webinar and I realized, wait, this actually hastens a human interaction with me in a way that my Facebook group doesn't, I was intrigued. Because in a Facebook group, I'm asking, and RJ knows this as a former client of mine, that I ask questions that are none of my freaking business that really ask you to be pretty vulnerable. And in a Facebook group, I'm asking you to reveal those things in front of other humans that you probably don't know. In a bot, I can ask those same kind of questions, and the only person that sees a response is me. It's like it had me at hello, right? Because I didn't have to hang out an email where like a small little sampling of humans might open it. But I could actually start having these one-on-one conversations in a platform called Messenger that I already liked. So yeah, that's what hooked me in. And I knew it was one of those things, I just knew that I understood the power of it, but I didn't understand the complexity of it. And I knew RJ would be able to figure out the complexity and explain it to me. So that's why I drug you
in. Beckoning. Come here.
Come figure this out for me, please. So yeah, if anybody's like, why is RJ on the bots? It was my fault and I'm proud of it.
She takes the full credit responsibility, which is a word now. Okay, very good. Yeah, I think that story's important because I think it was maybe a month or two after I got in that we started kind of working on some bot stuff for Hilda.
Yeah.
And you wrote a really, for those of you who don't know, Jenny's got a quiz out there, which Hilda are you? And we'll have to put that link in the comments a little bit later on, or unless you can just pop it in there right now while I'm talking because you're a genius like that.
I can
Fantastic,
totally
darling. Carry on.
So
she's got these 4 Hildas, and you kind of take the quiz to figure out which one of them you have, and it's a really great quiz. That's not the bot part. The bot part at that time was a bridge out of the quiz and into let's get you into talking about the particular kind of Hilda that you have, explaining it, talking about how it appears, how to deal with that kind of stuff. And this was the really genius part. And I talk about that. I talk about this part to this day with people that are my clients. So you wrote this readiness sequence.
Yes.
That was basically, hey, how ready are you to start making progress on this? And it was genius because people rated themselves, and according to how they rated themselves, that's kind of what path we sent them down in the bot. It was amazing.
Exactly. So the readiness thing, which I can't take full credit for, but I am the first to put it in a bot, I believe, was saying, okay, if you, on a scale of 1 to 5, how ready are you to get out of your own way? If you wrote 3, you would expect the next question to be like, why isn't it a 4 or a 5? Right? Like that's the expectation. That's kind of what people have always done. But if you wrote 3, the next message you got would say, why isn't it a 2? Which is surprising. Like, why isn't it lower than you would think? And the conversations that came from that were really, really rich because by realizing, wow, maybe I am more ready than I thought I was, people were able to take the next action. And then we had a set of actions at that point of either booking a call with me, like if you're really ready to go, like if they said 4 or 5, I was like, we got to get on the phone, let's go. But if they said 2 or 3, here's more information, a webinar or something that they could bite into. But it was a way of like allowing people to kind of self-select, I'm in. And if they said 1, they could buy my book. It's lovely. Have fun. You're clearly not ready to actually do something about it. And that's not a judgment. That's okay. But realizing I could have a solution for people depending on how ready they are to go, that was really valuable. And you helping me figure out and puzzle out, how do we do that in a bot instead of in a series of emails back and forth? So it was very, right. What do you call it? Just in time. That was really powerful. Mm-hmm.
Well, so much of because you wrote the book on Hilda. I watched you write it. I was part of the process.
You're in the book, RJ. Don't forget. I mean, not for nothing.
Everybody, page 127. Just avoid it. It's fine.
There you go.
Anyway. So much information you have from doing lots of qualitative research. We're organizational development nerds, everybody, so it's okay. Sometimes we spit words out like that. It's fine. You did so much qualitative research, and there was so much education for you to offer. Did you feel like, because I know that you offered, which Hilda are you? And then originally it went right to an email, and that email delivers, this is which Hilda you are. Did you find that there was a difference between just how you offered the information? It was the same information, but you were just offering it in the bot. It was more bite-sized. It was more kind of digestible. In the email, it's more of a novel format, because that's just what email is. Did you feel like there was a better key understanding of the key points either way, or what do you think about that?
It's a really good question. I mean, I've had success with both. I'm not going to pretend that, using the email failed. And right now, if you take the quiz, you're going to get an email, because having nothing to do with working with RJ on this, we had a little Facebook hiccup. And so that particular bot we're talking about, you can't get to right now for a Facebook hiccup that's between me and Zucky. We've worked it out. We're still friends. It's all good. But when I had the bot, the difference was I got more communication back and forth. When the email, I feel like I'm holding a megaphone and hoping somebody will listen. With a bot, I feel like I'm passing a note, right? And I'm passing a note, and they may or may not respond quickly, but they do eventually respond if they're interested. And so it's more of a high touch experience, which blows my mind because it's called a bot. But I feel like it needs a new name, because a bot sounds low touch. It sounds removed, and it's actually the opposite. That's been the shock for me. So yeah, I mean, the people in the bot would be able to start a conversation with me. Some of them skipped over the need to have a one-on-one session before hiring me. Mm-hmm. Because we were able to get that connected that quickly. So it actually was skipping a step, whereas an email is never going to do that.
Mm-hmm. No, well, and that's one of the things I love about the bots is you can go through the mini course if you want. There's also a button on the bottom of the screen that says schedule me. Just in case there's so many paths you can go down. But what I really loved about that sequence in particular, and we'll move on to the sequence, the stuff that you have going now. But what I loved about that one in particular was that there's a lot to Hilda. You're not just going for in your business somebody recognizing, yes, I hear that voice in my head. Baby, that's easy to get, because we can all talk like Hilda. But what you're going for is not just that recognition. That's like the barest first step. You're getting in there with, here's how this works. Here's how you uncover this stuff before Hilda starts talking and leading you in the wrong direction. Here's a way, here are the comebacks. I mean, there were so many pieces and parts in there that I had watched you build from scratch. Well, not from scratch, but from all of your coaching and all of the knowledge.
Yeah.
And then people were actually computing all of it. And not just, it wasn't a surface connection. It was more like, whoa, there's so much.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we've all read that self-help book, that self-help book that says, well, if your inner critic shows up, just ignore it. Gee, thanks. That's lovely. So if I have bouts of imposter syndrome before I put something out there, and I'm worried about what everybody's going to think, and I'm really stressed out that I don't know enough about the technology that I'm using to put this out there, and I'm worried about what everybody's going to think and that somebody's going to think I'm an imposter. In my world, that I can Hilda, I shouldn't Hilda, and I don't know Hilda just got together and formed an itty bitty shitty committee designed to hold you back, and you know what to do with that information. You're not going to just pretend it wasn't there. And so my work is about the folks who understand that there's different degrees and levels and variations of this experience with Hilda. And so that bot allowed people to get a crash course in how Hilda shows up, why she shows up, and most importantly, what we're going to do about her. And spoiler alert, it's not going to be ignore her and pretend she isn't a thing. Okay? Sorry for that self-help book who says that. Not that
I'm not sorry.
I'm not sorry at all, not even close. But you know what I mean? We've all heard that. And it's usually from some dude who's like, yeah, I have no inner critic. You're also a douchebag. So I don't know how to relate to you. So I wanted, my book and my work is all about recognizing that that's a real thing. This is a real thing that's going on in our brain, and finding a playful, ridiculous way of dealing with it by calling her Hilda or an itty bitty shitty committee is a way to really address it so that you can get on with, get out of your own way and get on with the business of change in the world.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really impressed with one time you had done some engagement, and you happened to do it while I was on a live stream with somebody else. And the results on that, can you talk about that one for a minute? Because that to me was pretty amazing.
That was the broadcast. I'm looking on my screen here if my eyes are darting around. That was the broadcast on puddle jumping, wasn't it?
You broadcasted one question to the people that you had in your bot at that time.
Oh, there it is. It was a procrastination question. Yes. So while you were in, I just happened to schedule it. I had scheduled a broadcast. I think the broadcast is the most underutilized tool in many chats. And if it's overused, it's people saying, hi, here's a broadcast. I'm about to broadcast something. But like a broadcast that actually asks a question and asks for a conversation without saying bye something is underutilized. I'm utilizing this thing. It's changing the game. So when you were live, you happened to get the question. And it was a very simple broadcast that said, I have a quick 2-part question for you. Number 1, are you procrastinating this week? And there were 2 options. And the options were intentionally written opposite of the way you'd want, right? Like normally, yes is a positive answer and no is the negative answer. I reverse those. So are you procrastinating this week? Nope, I'm hustling was one option. And yep, guilty, right? So as I did that, if you said, nope, I'm hustling, I say, great, I love it. Second question, what you working on? And if you said, nope, I'm guilty, I say, okay, appreciate the honesty. Second question, what are you going to do about it? Now, those are straight up coaching questions, right? What are you working on, or what are you going to do about it? And that had such an incredible response. I wasn't asking you to be super vulnerable, but I was asking you about something that was happening to you on that particular Thursday afternoon. And people were responding and really sharing. You got the opportunity to either celebrate what you're working on, and I got to know a little bit more about that, get soul stitched to your goals. Or you were sharing, how you're procrastinating, and not a sob story. I didn't say, well, why are you procrastinating? What are you watching on Netflix? I didn't ask that. I said, what are you going to do about it? Which is also very actionable. That's what I do in my coaching. And what I love about the bot is it allows me to coach people, a whole bunch of people, all at one time. And again, because it's not a Facebook group, and I have a Facebook group, I'm not putting it down. I wasn't asking anybody to be vulnerable and tell this to a bunch of strangers. I was simply asking them to tell me. And so it was really quite funny that you got this prompt on your screen while you were live. That was hysterical. I'm really sort of sorry about that, because I didn't think about the scheduling time.
Oh no. Well, and what happened to me was I just giggled inwardly, because it was like, ooh, I get to talk to Jennie about what happened to that. What happened with that engagement post. So what happened with that engagement post, my friend?
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular. Let me look at the stats here, if I may. It was delivered to 90 at the time. I was pretty, I don't have the hugest bot. I just want to throw that out there. It was delivered to 93 people and opened by 90. 96.8 people. So the percentage matters more. 96.8 people opened up that bot, and 26 of them responded. 90 of those, so 28% actually shared information with me. And that means I had 26 conversations. 26 conversations. I've never had an email inspire 26 conversations. Sure, I may have gotten an open rate, but I haven't been able to engage and talk to people with a question about procrastination. I mean, it's just so delicious, to be able to have that.
Well, and email is good for certain things. We're not bashing email for sure, but think about, so what was this, estimate? Because I didn't ask you to prepare this number beforehand, but how many were on your email list at the time?
Oh, that's a good question. I would guess at least half of them, but I hadn't talked to most of them. And the big result that I know she's looking for is one of those conversations turned into a coaching client. So while I was having this conversation, I made $4,000 off of the question about procrastination.
That's the moment that I go for. That's the one that I talk about a lot, because people, when they come to me, they're very, very focused on how fast can I get a whole bunch of people in here. They're still thinking about it like a funnel. Like,
right, because with email, we need 1,000 people for 12 to open it.
So, and we're thinking about it like getting people in. Okay, that's the first step. They're on the list.
Yeah.
If you don't ever engage those people, it is worthless. You know what I'm saying? So, when we think about it like a funnel, it's tough. When we think about it, though, as the secret to having a high touch experience, having a high touch experience with somebody one-to-one, but doing it in a way that's delivered automatically. When we're thinking about that, then it becomes a new game. All of those questions, I know that I've had Facebook groups in the past. And you have like the best Facebook groups ever, Coach Jennie. And this because people tell you this all the time. If there were a profession in creating Facebook groups that are awesome, Jennie, the clone of Coach Jennie, would have that job. But sometimes even asking questions in groups like that, people view it as public and they're not as eager to give information. But the same question in a bot: are you procrastinating today? Because I've seen you post that type of question.
That exact question. And the responses are superficial, right? The responses are like, haha, yep, I'm guilty. And that's kind of where it ends. And when I say, what are you going to do about it? Well, thank you for the reminder. I'm going to get back to work. Like, that's usually the depth that I can get to in a Facebook group. And I've been pretty happy with that. But here's what happened with this one. And I'm going to be careful because of confidentiality. But one particular person said, yep, I'm guilty. What are you going to do about it? Well, you know what? I have been procrastinating on reaching out to you. I've been watching your videos. I've been hanging out for a while. Haven't said anything yet because I've been too scared to post anything. I'm going to book a call. And I said, why don't we skip that? I've got time right now. Why book a call when I've got like 20 minutes right now? Can we hop on the phone and talk about what's really going on? And because I happen to be on the bot when she happened to be talking to me, she's like, yeah, I have 20 minutes. And we got on the phone right then. And now this was somebody who, because of the bot and because of the quiz, I had never met her. I didn't know her name yet. But because of those things, she was like, I really want to work with you. And I'm ready to do this. So because she had all of that exposure to me, and because I didn't follow the funnel rules and be like, okay, click on here and get on my Acuity scheduler that'll put you on my calendar next Tuesday, I was able to, in the moment, say, it sounds like you're in pain and I can help. Why don't we get on the phone? I fell in love with her immediately. I knew she was the kind of client I'm dying to work with. And she bought a 3-month, $4,000 coaching package on the spot. Now, is that always the case? No, of course not. That's not always the case. But here's the thing. I don't care that at that time I only had 90 subscribers. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, like to your point, RJ, is they start working with you and they're like, let's get as many subscribers as I want, because we're so trained in that email marketing. I need 1,000 people before I can sell a widget thing, which is just crap. I mean, what you need is the right people to sign up. And then you need to focus more of your time and energy on starting conversations than on trying to play the numbers, in my humble opinion. I'm sorry, I'm getting all fired up here.
You're getting all fired up. No, I love, Coach Jennie all fired up is kind of the light of my life. I need you to know.
It's been a while since we've been able to do this with an audience.
It's true. Well, and let's talk about that last part. Let's talk about the engagement part, because another part where people get stuck when they are creating their bots is that part where I gotta have a real meaty introduction. I gotta have a mini course to take. I gotta have a thing, and that is exactly where I got stuck when I first started bots. I immediately wrote a big sequence and all this kind of stuff, and that was great. But what I found out was what Jennie is telling you right now, that those engagement questions are sometimes much, much more valuable than any sort of canned presentation type stuff that you might have in the bot.
We were talking about the bot sequence that we built, and then Facebook and I had our kerfuffle. We haven't put it back up, because what's working better for me are these one-off conversation starters versus this complicated sequence. Now we're going to take that sequence and tweak it and fix it, but that was a complicated sequence. I mean, each day was like 7 or 8 clicks and a type this, and I was asking a heck of a lot of engagement from people, and this is me and RJ learning together, again being client zero of this process. I'm like, you have to learn bots so I can hire you and can work on bots. We're learning together, and it's important to have that client that you can do these experiments with. But like yesterday, and this is really why we came on here, not yesterday, New Year's Day, I asked a New Year's Day question, and that has sparked up to now 26 conversations that I have gotten to have with people about their goals for this upcoming year.
What is more important for a coach, right?
Nothing.
Right.
I also sent an email on New Year's Day, and that has spawned 5 conversations.
All right. Good comparison numbers. I'm gonna put this graphic up, because this is what you wrote in my group. I'm gonna
so this is a day old. It's still going, but go
on. So I'm gonna post this just so you all can kind of see what we've got here. This is, when I see this kind of stuff, it makes me so happy. Okay, I'm going to solo this thing right here and take us off screen for a second. So what you're seeing here is my Facebook right now, and this is Jennie's post here that she posted yesterday. If you're not in the Black Belt Bots community, it's super easy to get in. Just hit that join button. And so this is kind of what she's got. She's talking about, what she's going to do with her bot in the new year. Huge. I mean, that's a great topic in my group, because everybody's kind of, getting back on the horse after being, gone for a while. But these are the statistics that make my heart sing. I'll tell you why. It's because she's got 122 people in there. You know what? That's not 10,000. Okay? It's not 10,000. She delivered to this many, opened by 64%, and then clicked by 20. That's amazing stuff. That's what brings me to bots over and over again. To be able to start a conversation with somebody, to be able to do these things. I'm hitting solo on this thing. Oh, we need to do that. That's what we need to do.
There we go.
And then I'll take this one out so it can just be me and you again. Okay, here we go. I don't do this very often, this whole people and things. And yeah,
I hear you, technology. It's a different one.
Yeah, it's different. That's what makes me, that's what wakes me up in the morning and puts my attention on how many people can I tell about this, because so many coaches want to give a high touch experience.
Yeah.
So many coaches want to help people keep accountable to the goals that they're all setting right now. But they don't want to have to do this in the grocery line to send somebody a reminder to get to that thing, right? The kind of experience that we want to get to, we can't often support because it doesn't scale. Well, bots scale. You can give a high touch experience to people. You can show them what you're all about. You can ask them questions, start conversations, and get answers.
I totally agree. And, I'm reading the chat over here, and Chris says, I noticed the scene by 9. I try not to pay attention to that because it kind of gets me down, but the results are precious. Here's the thing. If your goal is to have impressive numbers in a ManyChat bot, then your goals aren't going to pay the mortgage. I've never been able to go, I pay rent because I'm a renter of LA, I can't go to my leasing agent and be like, but look, I have all these followers, they want money, right? They want money. So that's something to pay attention to. My goal is to find clients. And honestly, if I get 3 clients in a month, I'm doing great. So what are your goals, right? So instead of obsessing about how many people saw it and how many people clicked it, you can obsess about, oh my gosh, these are the people who clicked it, right? And those are the conversations I get to have. Do you feel the difference? And so for me, those numbers that she just flashed up there are amazing numbers because, and today that number's up to 26. I've counted. I have had 26 micro conversations about New Year's resolutions and New Year's goals, and specifically about how they feel about New Year's resolutions, and more specifically about what their goals are, what they want for this year. And so some people were poo-pooing resolutions. Some people are, I always make resolutions. So it's a light conversation starter that can go really, really deep. And so I'm betting that anybody watching this live stream, if you got a client from asking a question about how do you feel about New Year's resolutions, you want to give a flip about how many people clicked on it. You know what I'm saying? Quality over quantity, right? It's so true, Shay. It's like, it drives me crazy that the gurus have gurued us. That's a verb. They've gurued us into thinking that the only way we're going to be successful is if we have these certain numbers. That is true if you have a low touch experience. You need a numbers game to have a low touch experience. But the bots, specifically the way RJ does bots, the way RJ teaches this, is a high touch experience. And if you want to have a high touch experience, because spoiler alert, you're selling a high touch experience, right? Then you have this opportunity to make that connection. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop apologizing. I'm working on that.
That's a good one to work on. Let me just follow that up. I'm just getting so excited here, but let me follow that up with saying, yeah, of course, if what you are offering people, if you're offering to the world is a high touch experience where you give a lot of support, don't you want to give, we all want to give a taste of that to people. But up until this point, it's just been impossible because of the ways that we're trying to connect with people, because of how we think about funnels and marching people through the stages. We're not coming at it. When we're thinking about a funnel, we're coming at the problem from our perspective. We are not thinking about them. How do I support them? How do I serve them? What's their problem? What do they need to do next? Right. Sometimes it's go all the way through the mini course. Sometimes it's hit the button below that says schedule a call. Sometimes it's have a conversation with you if you happen to be sitting at your computer at that time, and jump on a call without touching a schedule.
Exactly, without touching the schedule and being able to have a conversation. So there was another question a little earlier about this. I would love to address if we could, RJ, because the word bot gets in the way of this. And my clients are always like, you do bots, what? And so I think people think it's impersonal.
They do.
we working with RJ, she will make sure that as you're writing this language, she trains you, and she's doing a great job of training me on how to write language so you're really clear when the bot is talking versus when Coach Jennie is talking. Right? So let me explain what this looks like. And I'm just going to give you the specific example. So I have to zoom in and look at this. I wish I could share the screen with you. I cannot. But my question on Tuesday for the new year was, Happy New Year. I'm curious, what are your feelings on setting New Year's resolutions? And they had 3 choices of buttons to click. I always set some. I have mixed feelings. They're stupid. Okay. Now that right there is an example of the fact that RJ knows that humor works for me. I don't know if you picked up on it. RJ and I are funny. So we use humor wherever we can. So if you use humor, add humor. If you're more sensitive, you want to add your personality. But we're adding some of that humor, and we're making it fun to click on one of those buttons. No matter what they clicked, I wanted them to tell me more. Right? No matter what they clicked, I asked them to tell me more. So I want them to be able to click something, but then write something. Okay, that's kind of the key. I think a lot of people use bots to click here, and then that's the end.
Yeah.
Well, then why isn't it just a call to action button? I don't want just call to action buttons. So after, say, they said, yeah, I always set some, I say, me too. What are your resolutions for 2019? And they type it, right? Or if they said, oh, I have mixed feelings, say, yeah, I get it. They can be a mixed bag. So tell me, do you have any resolutions for 2019? See, no matter what, I was asking them to do something. And then I say, type and hit enter to send. I make it really explicit. They have to hit enter so I see it. That's because RJ makes sure we do that. Mm-hmm. After that, this is where the bot tells them a human's coming. I say, no matter what the thing is, awesome, I've summoned the coach for you, and she will be with you as soon as she has a free moment. In the meanwhile, want to take a little quiz to uncover how your inner critic holds you back. Okay, so then I'm really clear, and this is where, RJ, you're just stupendous. I'm really clear that this is the bot talking to you. I've told Coach Jennie to come over here. She'll be here in a moment. So the next message you get will be from a human. Mm. Right? Do you see the distinction? And I think that is, RJ is the only person teaching this. I go to all these geeky conferences. Remember we talked about the bleeding edge, and all these other people's like, yeah, and you could do all these things to make sure you never have to talk to your customers.
Oh, that drives me insane.
That is not what we are doing here. I would not be here if there was this whole, we're creating this complicated tool so you never have to talk to somebody. That is not what it's about. It's actually shortening the amount of time somebody goes from finding out I exist to talking with me. And it's not waiting until we both have time to get on the same schedule. Did you get that? So it's shortening the amount of time between the time somebody finds out I exist in the world to the time I get to have a conversation with them without us having to be on the same schedule or in the same time zone.
And that's the amazing thing. Let's talk about that for a second. And Terry, if that answers your question, cool. And if it doesn't, write another question and we will sneak up on it and get to it. Talking about that making that length of get to know you time shorter. The reason why it's attractive when someone says you can set all these things up in the background and you'll never have to talk to a person is because the reason why that's attractive is because we've all been in this trap of talk to this person. This person isn't interested in you and you're not interested in them and you both know it. So, okay, let that one die down. Now talk to this person. Okay, it's the same case. It's not that we don't want to talk to people. We do want to talk to people. Listen, we just want to talk to the right people.
Yes.
Yeah. And how a bot helps is that people self-select out.
Yeah.
When they don't want to hear your personality anymore, when those jokes, they don't get it, they don't care. When the stuff that you're sending them doesn't resonate with them, they self-select out. And you don't have to talk to 10 people, 15 people to find that one people you're clicking with. The people you're clicking with are the people who are clicking.
And may I also say there's a vetting process in addition. So the people that are clicking with you. That doesn't mean that you're going to click with all of them. So it's also a wonderful vetting process. There were a couple of people that responded. I can't believe I'm saying this publicly. I love you. You're all fabulous. But there were a couple of people that responded that's like, oh, I hate goals. I hate everything about goals. Goals are the suckiest thing in the world. I prefer to just, blah, blah, blah. And they were just saying all these like wishy-washy things. That screams to me that there's no way on earth they're going to enjoy working with me. And it's wonderful knowledge. They can continue to participate in the bots. But guess what? I'll be honest. I didn't spend as much time and effort and heart responding to their messages. I respond to every single person that responded, but I'm not going to pour my heart into it and try to turn them into a Coach Jennieite. Not going to happen. But for the folks who are like, oh my gosh, they read something and I get excited, like RJ, we are very selfish about our practices and working with people that inspire us. So somebody wrote something that inspires me, I'm jumping all over that. And so there's that two-pronged piece. You're right. One is people who are going to be turned off, we never have to deal with. And then two, the people who engage, we can start, deciding whether or not we want to part the red velvet rope and invite them into our world.
And so it becomes much more of a process of inviting rather than sitting out there. And I have done this. I am only speaking from experience, sitting out there watching the social media feeds, trying to decide if I need to be more present. Maybe I need to do another live stream, send another email, make another post. How am I going to stand out? How am I going to stand out amongst the crowd? And how am I going to get my message heard? And those are the two biggest questions, I think, that people ask me all the time. And the example that I give them is this. The example that I give them is, I have a few that I kind of trot out all the time. But one of the examples is you. Because here's another thing about the little engagement questions that you send out, Jennie.
Mm-hmm.
There's no buy my stuff at the end.
Mm-mm. And that doesn't mean I don't ask for business. I am a proponent of asking for business and I'm not afraid to. But I don't think that it always needs to be buy my stuff, watch my shiz, buy my stuff, watch my shiz. Like that gets really old really fast. I want to have a conversation with people. I want to see if they're open to the kinds of questions I ask. You are not coachable if a question like, let's be real. If a question about how do you feel about resolution scares you, you're not going to enjoy time with me. Not going to happen. Because I tend to ask like really hard hitting in your gut questions. We call them cathartic shoves. They sting a little bit, right? And so exactly. So I need to make sure that, we're kind of testing the water so people get moving there. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think, again, I said this earlier, but I think the broadcasting to start a conversation, not to pitch your shiz, is a missed opportunity. And so few people are doing it. I'm subscribed to a bunch of bots, and I haven't seen anybody just ask me a question about me in a very long time. That's kind of atrocious.
Yeah, well, it is. It's what's being taught out there. Yeah. And what this conversation in particular is sparking something in me that says, do I have something in my, courses and stuff like that? Do I have a chapter in there? I have a chapter about here's how to create engagement, but do I have a chapter in there about, because the very best way to create engagement is exactly what you've done. It's asking a question, because asking a question prompts somebody, if they are into what you're doing, it prompts an answer. And then that starts the exchange. So one of the things I'm thinking is, do I need the 20-minute class on here is how you keep your people engaged? Because the secret in a bot, even now, right now, bots they really made a huge splash. In 2018, they were the star of every one of those geeky social media conferences, some of which I go to. Okay. I'm just saying bots were the star of the show. And so because of that, A lot of people are starting now to build them. So we're going to get to, if you've ever seen that bell curve of, okay, we've got products first out there, then we've got bleeding edge people. That's Jenny and I, and some of you. And then we kind of start climbing this curve of, general acceptance. When we get to the top of this curve of general acceptance and people know what bots are, the standards are going to change. The standards of the things that we're able to get away with today, people will have seen 1,000 bots by then.
Yeah.
So how do you make your bot stand out, not just now, but a year from now, when people are going to, the honeymoon's over, we know what this is now. And questions, the very simple thing that Jenny is getting so much engagement out of right now, everybody.
Right. And I want to emphasize that this isn't like both of the question examples I shared with you. These are Googleable questions. These aren't like, oh, Coach Jenny's writing these questions based on 12 years of coaching experience. How do you feel about New Year's resolutions is not groundbreaking, people, right? So these don't have to be the most profound questions in the world. In fact, if they are, people are going to be less likely to respond to them. Yeah. But what I'm asking is, what's your opinion on something? Tell me more. What's your experience on something? Tell me more. Are you procrastinating today? Tell me more. So what is your question? Tell me more, that you can say, I am interested in you. Most bots that I see are simply saying, like there's these fantastic tools you can use and they're good. I'm not putting them down. But if it's all you do, you're missing an opportunity when, people can say, oh, type in a keyword and I will send you a PDF. I did that earlier. Somebody said, type in this keyword. I'll send you this training guide for the blah, blah, blah. I was like, cool. Typed it in, got the blah, blah, blah. She hasn't asked me any question in her bot about me. All she knows about me is I typed in that word. That's disappointing to me. You know what I mean?
People, here it is. Marketing has to stop being about us. You know what I mean? It just has to stop being about us. It has to start being about them. That's how you stand out. No matter what tool you're using, if you never use a bot in your whole life, it has to start being about them and stop being about us and what we want and how we're going to train people to go down this funnel.
Yeah. Teresa says, what are you working on? What do you need? How can I help? These are fantastic, simple, basic questions that make people feel heard and seen. And people that feel heard and seen are going to remember you. That's it, right? No matter what it is you do. And yeah, you can still throw in, like today, I was like, hey, I have a video for you. I didn't ask any questions or engagement, but guess what? I got some. Because I typically ask questions after people watch this 2-minute video. I got 3 or 4 responses saying, oh my God, I needed that video today. And here's what's going on. Why? Because I've trained them that this is a place for conversation.
Exactly.
It's not just a place of me saying, here's my stuff. That's what YouTube is for.
Right. There are so many broadcasting platforms out there. There's so many. Take advantage of them all. We absolutely love it. But think of Messenger as a conversation platform, not as a broadcast platform.
Right. And I wish it wasn't called broadcast in ManyChat, but it is. But I wanted to rethink that word, right? If I had my druthers, you would spend half of your time broadcasting, here's information that you might like, and half of your time saying, here's information I want to know about you.
Yeah.
Like, what if it was broadcast and engagement? I wish they could fix that. Will you work on that, please, RJ?
I will try. There's a platform out there that I looked at a while back, and you will be disgusted. I won't mention the platform's name. You will be disgusted at what they have as their broadcast. Would you like to hear?
Yeah.
Chat Blast.
There you go.
Really?
When's the last time you were chat blasted? Doesn't that feel good? Oh man,
doesn't that feel great?
My day
feels as great as an email blast, doesn't it? Oh, get away from me with that language. Oh my God.
It's so awful. Well, and it's like, people who live stream, right? Like there's a lot of live streamers who never read the comments. I get that as we become more popular, like RJ's here, there's a lot of comments to keep up with. But you better believe both she and I are going to read all these comments, make sure we respond, and we've answered all the questions. We're both checking it because we recognize that you're there. You know what I mean? Like, that's the same thing with the bot. And I think it's the same thing with all marketing. And I think the reason some of us are successful with small numbers versus the people who are successful with big number lists is because we do this. My whole thing, and this is why I'm really excited that RJ gave me the opportunity to pontificate this today, is I want you to stop stressing about the numbers because I'm making money. I'm making money with a bot that has 128 people in it. I'm making money. And again, I'm not the most money-driven person in the world, but I'm making money. And that means these people are becoming clients. And as an impact-driven person, that means I'm helping more and more people get out of their own way because I'm asking questions in a bot. That is awesome. That's a good reason to use it. It's a good reason to hire RJ. And RJ and I have been talking about, like, we've only scratched the surface of what we could do. So.
It's true. I mean, there's a lot of things coming out. But, you know, I read this article a couple weeks back. It was from Hootsuite. And it was talking about how we've sort of been in the age of the influencers, right? You know, how many people you know. And the article talked about how that age is kind of passing away and that now is starting to be the age of the micro influencers. Why? Because they're connected to their communities.
There's a word for us. I'm a micro influencer.
You are.
I sound like I'm a microorganism.
You do. Endoplasmic reticulum. It's my favorite word.
Thank you. That's a fabulous term. I love it. Micro influencer. I'm all about that because I don't want to be like ridiculously famous by all the like.
I know. I don't want to have documentarian following me around. I don't need that many clients. I'll tell you what I need. You know, I've got a goal of about this many. Honestly, I mean, when we think about it, we've been stuck in the cycle of how many can we get? How many can we get? And it has been about how many clicks, about how many people didn't actually just scroll all the way past, but watched for 3 seconds, because that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, how many can we get? All of that kind of stuff. You know what? We don't even need that many to be successful. We just need to connect with the right ones.
Well, and it depends on your business model, right? Like if you're selling a $15 book and you want to make 6 figures, you need to be up at, how did Ross put it? A macro influencer, right? Like a macro influencer, it's a fun word, is I'm going to guess like Paris Hilton. She's a macro influencer. If she like uses Kleenex instead of puffs, everybody buys Kleenex, I guess. I don't know. That's a macro influencer with gajillions of people following your every move. No, thank you. But a micro influencer, which is a term that I've just learned, I'm guessing is more like us, right? Where RJ was giving me all of this wonderful compliments about my Facebook group and how I could teach people how to have a really engaged Facebook group. My Facebook group is just a couple hundred people. And I'm good with that because it's a special place. And it's most people's favorite Facebook group. But it's not the one with 10,000 people. I have zero interest in trying to have the biggest one. That's what the boys worry about, honey. We're not worried about the biggest one. We're worried about making sure that we have the best one, the one that people want to be a part of. And so, yeah, I feel like community is important, not the size of the community, but the engagement, the quality. And that's how I go. And so depending on your business model, I have a book and that's lovely. And I want a lot of people to buy it. So that's where influence, I'm not getting to macro, but I want to be an influencer at the book level. But as a coach, I am extraordinarily successful if 8 to 10 people sign up for the Get Out of Your Own Way coaching program a month. 8 to 10. Do you think I can do that with a bot that's growing at this rate? Hell yeah, I can.
Hell yeah, you can.
Right? And so, I mean, and that's ridiculous success. I am happy and hanging out comfy at 4 to 5 people a month. And that's really attainable and easy to get to. So depending on what your goals are, connect your numbers with your actual goals, not with the goals of how Gary Vaynerchuk wants you to have. Sorry to name drop that guy, but
he's nice enough, but the whole punch jab thing, I would like to not physically assault my clients.
Yeah, I shove, but he's pretty rough, man. I thought the shove was bad.
There you go. You guys, we're going to have Jennie come on again. Now, one of the things that you said in your post was that you would like to be, you're giving it a brand new push.
Yes.
So what do you think that your consistency goals, what do you think that something that you're working toward consistency wise with these?
Yeah, I have it here. It's in my consistent activities plan. It's written down.
Nice.
So yes, it's very important to me. I want to post one of these broadcasts. So call them an engagement broadcast, at least one a week. At least one a week, because I have experimented with these and dabbled once in a blue moon, and these have been my results. Now imagine what my results are going to be if I do this every week. And I come up with a different question to engage different people every week. My hope is that once I do this for a while, I can turn it into a welcome sequence where I don't have to do it manually all the time, right? So I'm thinking RJ and I'll have a session probably in April, and I'll say, okay, here are the 12 different questions I've asked, minus the New Year's resolution one, because that's very timely, right?
Right.
Here are all the different questions I've had. How can I make sure I ask those questions again to people who haven't subscribed yet? Right, so that they get those same questions, and it becomes more of that. Because again, I'm not looking for people to join my bot and follow me forever. I'm looking for people to join my bot, learn about me, get to know each other, see if I get them and they get me, and become clients or readers of my work.
Yeah, exactly. There's an end to it.
Yeah.
Whereas with a lot of other marketing tools, there's absolutely no end to it. As you know, Jennie, my favorite TV show is it was Lost, which like more than 10 years ago now, 15 years ago now.
I don't want to think about that because I'm still 22. Go on.
We shall not number the amount of years it has been, but it was the first television series to say, you know what, these are only important for a time. And instead of getting people's attention and then just being dancing monkeys until they stop looking, we're going to make a show with a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes.
And that was shocking to people that they would want to end something that was doing well, because you've got to pump that for all it's worth.
Exactly. Right? Like AMC knew how to do that with Breaking Bad, not with The Walking Dead so much.
No, not with The Walking Dead so much. They abandoned what they learned with The Walking Dead. But that's a model to me to adopt with bots. I don't need people in there forever. I don't need, I don't need that. What I need is a chance to get to know you.
Right. And I think that we've accidentally taken on bots and started to apply email marketing tactics to it. We need to get as many humans as possible because it's a subscription. So our mind goes to do what we learned from all the gurus. We've been gurued. And then we need to come up with a way to talk to them every week with original content for the rest of our lives. No. What we need to do is bring people into the bot after they found out we exist, however they do. Take my quiz, and this doesn't work today, but it will. You'll take my quiz and I'll be inviting you into the bot and you can do this. Another example is I have a new service out, the Unstuck and Unstoppable thing. So I have this new service out. And we created a bot. Oh, RJ's the best, you guys. Just hire her every time you need these things. So RJ and I worked on a bot for people who are going through that sales process and might have questions. It is the simplest thing ever. It's basically like, got a question that's not in the FAQ? Click here. Let's talk to the human. And what is it doing? It's creating more FAQs for me. Like, oh, I didn't think of that question. Let me put that in there. It's fantastic, but it gets people in a conversation with me. And the question is always, will this work for me in my situation, which is that? How great is that? So like, will this work for me with my kids? Will this work with me with 8th graders? Will this work with me if I use it there? And the cool thing is, so far the answer has always been yes. And so it's really exciting. Instead of saying, so if you want it, buy it, love you, mean it, buy. It's saying, if you're interested, let's chat. And that's working really, really well.
Yeah, and that's a topic for another day because somehow Jennie Mustafa-Julock, we have talked away an entire hour of time. This happens to us all the time. We do this all the time, not usually with an audience, but we do this all the time. So I would love to. I want to have you back. I want to have you back in April.
Okay.
Talk to us about, did you get what you wanted out of this consistent once a week question you post in your bot? What are the results of that? What would you do better? Is it something that people, I mean, we already know people can, but I would just love to see your results because this is something I'm really, really excited about. And I'm so happy. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And thank you for letting me share all these things. I'm really fired up about it. And yeah, book it. We're going to book April as soon as we get done here, and I'll be back.
And she and I will also go through the comments because I know you've been making comments, and I usually keep right up with this stuff, but it has not been possible.
It was going fast and furious. So I'm going to go back. Sure. Wow, there's a lot of comments here, peeps. Thank you so much. Make sure I didn't miss any questions. If we did, just tag me. Just tag me or tag RJ with any questions because we don't want to miss anything. But Zucky doesn't make it easy for us to see everything.
Nah, he don't. I've noticed this too. So we're going to go back through. Jennie, feel free to post any and all links to your bot, to your, to whatever you feel is appropriate. You have carte blanche here. And that I'm going to start to wrap it up. Next Tuesday, we're going to have another friend of mine in. Yep. It's Friends Week. We're going to have another friend of mine in who is doing some stuff with joint venturing. And it's really exciting to me. It's something that I've been doing for just a little while, and this guy's the master. His name's Jay Fizzette. He's going to be in next week on Tuesday, regular time, 1:00. And then I got a guy named Tom who is also in next week on Thursday. We'll get into what he's going to present a little bit later on, but I want to bring you some people that are just going to light you on fire. And there's a reason Jennie was first in line, everybody. Aww. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in a bot.